IMHO 101 Jams. This is Sir Charles.
Miss Max.
Razor.
We are in the building right now, and we are back as promised. It is 2 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
The hour is here, and the brothers got something to say. It's time to uplift and empower the brothers. We have Mr. Gene Cash here. My man, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Thanks for having me.
So, Max, I'll kick it over to you.
That's right. So, for all of you, for IMHO family, you know that we frequently have someone from the Women's Initiative, Miss Shelley Wood, shout out to her, come in and talk to our ladies to help them with mental health issues or what have you, to offer that type of support. And so on our last visit, I was fortunate enough to have a conversation with her that I found out about Mr. Cash, which is something that I would say society is thirsty for, is to have someone that men can come to, men can talk to, men can be themselves and kind of figure this thing of manhood out, so to speak, and all the different emotions and situations and things like that they deal with. Am I in online there, Mr. Cash?
Very online.
Okay.
Very online.
And so, Mr. Cash, again, thank you for joining us, is the CEO of the Counseling Alliance of Virginia, and he's also a licensed clinical therapist?
Social worker.
Yes. Okay, social worker. I think, I'm going to let the men, for the most part, lead this, because who else can better relate? So, Charles, if you want to kick this off with your first question to Mr. Cash.
Well, the first thing I wanted to do, though, Mr. Cash, if you could go ahead and give us the background, sort of further introduce yourself as far as some examples of the work that you do to get the audience to know where you're coming from a little better.
Pretty much, I've been a therapist for about 28 years. I come from Ohio. I've been in Virginia about 10 years. I've worked in a psychiatric hospital for 5. I've did juvenile corrections for about 13 years. And now I've moved to Virginia to do the front end of care, wraparound services and outpatient therapy with the community. I've been here about 10 years in Charlottesville, and I have an office in the Richmond area as well.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, first question for me is, can you tell me how to think like a man?
How to think? Man.
Nope.
Because I'm still trying to figure this out.
Don't do it.
That's a trap for me. I don't know.
Hey, yo, Charles.
No, but what's, when it comes to men's health, I'm trying to think of the best place to start with you, Mr. Cash. But when it comes to men's health, and particularly black men, what are you seeing coming in and out of the office the most that we are dealing with?
I think what I see is a lot of, from our black male perspective, is a lot of psychological homelessness, a lot of struggles with being who we are as men, being able to be with our woman, to be with our mate, and also continue to be able to handle our mental health issues in a strong, positive way. Because, as men, we are told we are not to cry. We are supposed to hold everything in. We're supposed to keep it to ourselves. And sometimes when we share that, sometimes we would feel like we may be weak. Our partner, our mate might not feel like we can be able to handle the things that are coming at us. But there's nothing wrong with being able to talk about what you're feeling. It doesn't mean that you're less of a man. It means that you need help too, and you deserve support from your woman, from your family, from your community. And I see a lot of men struggling to be able to balance both of those.
Thank you for that. So, and now, as far as particular initiatives and things that may be happening here locally, because you're based here in Charlottesville, is that correct?
I have office in Charlottesville.
Okay.
Yes, I am based here.
All right,
as
cool.
well.
All right, and so specific. Are there any resources specific here and within Charlottesville? As far as like any initiative, because like Max mentioned, the women's initiative, right? So I see different events and things or whatnot, and I get that with women, it a lot of times is easier. Like you just said, alluding, playing off what you just said, it's easier for them to get together, kind of share feelings and things like that. So how do we break that ice?
Man, it's one of the toughest things I've seen. When I first came to Charlottesville, I was told I was the only black African-American, maybe one of 2 black males that are licensed to provide therapy to the community. And since then, what's been nice to see is the Central Virginia Colored Clinicians Network has been created.
Okay.
And it's not just all men, but I've seen more men in the room, probably like 3 or 4 of us, that are providing services to the community. This network has been comprised by Ebony Bug, if you know her. She's a licensed clinical social worker as well. She's done a phenomenal job as building the capacity of the minority or clinicians of color providing services, mental health services to the community. And with that, it's been able to bring a few men together, teaching them, training them how to address serious mental health issues in the community. So that's one initiative I'm behind. We meet probably every month to be able to start helping build clinicians. And when I say build clinicians, I'm meaning young men who are interested in the counseling field, because there's not many of us. So we're looking to train, supervise, and support them in this field, because as you know, there's a lot of us who are impacted, a lot of men who are impacted by mental health, but there's not many male therapists in the community.
We go to the barbers.
Yes, the barber shop is the spot.
If you were looking for people to like do what you're saying, I would say I would reach out to the barbers.
Yes.
I would reach out to because I mean, I'm one of them. And you talk to people, like I said when I finished everything, I was going to write a book called The $12 Counselor.
Okay, nice,
You know.
nice.
Because, I mean, I can't tell you, I've cut serial killers.
12. So why you charge me 20?
You got a little more head. But honestly, like the barbers, like we know when families are going to break up before the wife actually does. We know who doesn't like their stepkids. We know who having problems in them. I mean, like honestly, you could go to the barbers and impact African American men greatly.
No doubt.
So what's your advice on motivating men to talk when they're not sitting in your office? You know, because it's not exactly hard, I'm sure, to talk to one another because you don't want to be perceived as soft or what have you. You don't always want to talk to your wife or your significant other. What are some tools in that to open up and share?
Open up and share. The tools, I believe, is permission. I believe that our society has to give ourselves permission that we can talk. Even from our partner, even from our mothers. I have a mother now who brings her son to me. He's like probably 12, 13. And she said, Mr. Cash, my son needs to have a space to talk. Just not at home. That's not what his dad, but he needs some place to go ahead and let his thoughts and feelings out, just like everybody else. And we know when she says everybody else, she's talking about white people. She's talking about white people. They go to therapy like it's nothing. How come African American or people of color cannot receive the same benefit of same services? But it's really around breaking that old mentality of we got to keep everything inside. We got to keep it in the family.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Please, run with it, yes.
All right. Now, this world will drag a black man to no end.
Yes, sir.
Like, even being regarded in my community as, you know, somebody that people can come to.
Yes.
If I have an opposing opinion, or if, especially with politics right now, you say something that Trump may be doing obvious, it's you automatically get looked at a different way. So that makes a lot of African American men hide how they really feel. So now you're already dealing with something that you're not allowed to say how you feel politically, because if you've been accepted to other communities, they look at you funny, which a lot of times ties to your money if you are in like a business field or whatever.
Yeah, and you know, I was thinking along the same lines. So I think the question is like, what makes a man? That's what I was thinking.
Because I mean,
it's like, what's the social construct versus what we like think is cool? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, because what used to be considered a good man isn't that case no more. As long as you know, like me and my wife was listening to a sermon the other day where a good man or a man was somebody who paid bills. He might not even talk to his family. You know what I'm saying? But he just went to work. He passed over his check, and that was a good man. And that's what as long as he wasn't running with too many women back in the day, he was considered a good man. And then the person who was around all the time that talked to everybody, he was a sorry man because he wasn't out there working.
Yes.
So I mean, it's hard being a black man. I know it's hard to be other people, but it's really, really hard to be a black man. I teach my boys that they got to be a little bit tougher because of the way the world treats them. But at the same time, I know that it's not the healthiest thing.
Yeah.
What's your advice on that, Mr. Ash?
I don't know. I got caught up in something you said, Britt, in the earlier part of it.
Yeah, run with it.
And I think what I heard was I talked about psychological homelessness. And as a black man, we don't know where we stand sometimes. And what I believe is, hold on, I'm trying to get my thought right. It's who says we can't talk about the things we need to say? Who says that we aren't able to do the things that people are asking us to do. Like when you talk about the political situation in this world, who says we can't speak around political issues and in front of white people? Who says we can't do that?
This is if I may. All right. In my opinion, most of us, and I don't believe them this way, but I'm gonna say must so I don't offend nobody. Most black men have become cowards. We don't have Malcolms, Martins, people that know that I'm going to be chastised for a better day for somebody else. You know, we'll fit whatever we think is going to be cool and acceptable. Why else would people walk around with their head nappy as they do? Or pants hanging down with their tail hanging out? You know what I'm saying? And because, I mean, they're doing what they feel is acceptable. Now it's become a problem. And I'm going to say it. I mean, it's become, I got to say this right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Where I live at now.
Shall I get the bleep ready?
Oh, yeah, you might want to. Where I live at now, there's so few black males. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't really consider a mixed man or a mixed child a black male. You know what I'm saying? Just because of the way people treat them. Okay, that being said, a lot of our black kids interact with other races so much that this is what they feel is popular. This is what, so you're emulating what is not you and what you really don't feel. And the reason I know that by being a barber is when they graduate, a lot of them move off. A lot of them go to HBCU colleges. A lot of them go somewhere to try to find themselves. So for your whole youth life, you've been copying and blending in with something that you do not feel a part of and can't wait to break free from it. So now we expect that same person to treat a woman good, have a child and treat the child good. He don't know who himself is.
So I think that comes back around then to the question that we ended it with was, like, I guess clinically, like, what does it mean to be a man?
What does it mean?
Because we all are different, right? So you're talking to all these different men, but there has to be some sort of common thread of sort of like brotherhood or something that sort of completes us or makes us, right? Like is there a central chord to all of us?
I think the central core to all of us, man, y'all making me think a lot. Okay?
Hey, we told you.
You said you coming
man,
out.
We hurting over here,
bro. One of the common things that keeps coming to my head is trauma, man. And as a man, we have so much trauma that has happened to us psychologically, physically, mentally, emotionally. And that trauma is embedded in all of us. I think that's a common thread. When I have men coming out of office, when we start breaking down, we start going from what is inside of us? What do we carry? When are we being a man? When are we being an angry man? When are we being a child? When are we regressing back to when my daddy didn't show me the right thing to do or he left my mama? That's what's coming out, and how we learn how to cope with those stressors in our life. We usually got it from our mama. Our mamas taught us how to become a man. Or we had a coach, or I had friends that came over and taught me how to change oil or dig a ditch or make my mom happy. So as a man, we had to start learning from many different, because sometimes our fathers weren't there. So we had to pick it up. But the core thing of that is the abandonment and the loss and the trauma.
Not to cut you off, Max, right before we go to break. My dad was there every day of my life until he passed away.
Nice.
My dad never told me he loved me.
Wow. And where did that come from?
His dad not being there.
Exactly. Trauma.
I have a question. Do we need to take a break?
Yeah, can we save it right after break?
Let's take a quick break. You're tuned in to In My Humble Opinion. We are sitting down with Mr. Gene Cash, CEO of Counseling Alliance of Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Awesome.
All right, we're back. You're tuned in to In My Humble Opinion on 101.3 Jams. You got Max, Charles, and Razor. And, of course, our guest for this segment is none other than Mr. Gene Cash, CEO of Counseling Alliance of Virginia, licensed clinical social worker, and
Mr. Daniel Fairley has joined us, and he is here on behalf of BMA Cville, the Alliance for Black Male Achievement. We're going to dig a little deeper into that as well, but thought it'd be good for to have that hybrid of Daniel and Gene in this conversation.
All right. So before we went to break, Mr. Cash, I told you I had a question for you. Mine says, what has the most influential role on the makeup of a man? So I'm wondering, is it external, like socioeconomic status, skin color, things like that, or is it internal, like your sense of responsibility or your sense of motivation, or
I think all those are. It's external and internal. Is where you're coming from, how you can be a provider, how you've been emotionally blueprinted throughout your whole life. I think all those factors play a part about you being a black male in this society. And I believe, I got to be honest with you, coming from Ohio to Virginia was a shocker for me, and paying attention to how being a black male in Ohio and being a black male in Charlottesville, Virginia, would seem like a real. It was two different people.
Culture shock,
huge. And I had a brother tell me, "Hey, Gene, you can't act like that. You can't say those things." I'm saying, "Why not?" He says, "Because these people down here, you're not supposed to speak like that. You can't talk and say those things to white people." I mean, and I was just like, that's not how I was raised. That's not how I thought life was supposed to be. So I believe it's external and internal. It's like how you grew up and what you carry inside and what wounds you carry, what trauma has not been healed.
I think y'all missed a very important thing. Like, I feel like I'm a strong black man, but I really feel like regardless if you're gay, straight, whatever, the black woman plays such an important part in the makeup of a black man. Because that same woman who surrounds her arms around her child and lets nothing happen to him will tear down that child's father.
Yes.
So the first time that a black male sees how he can be treated is not from the police. A lot of times it's out of his own household.
Yes.
So how do you expect that child to grow up and be a strong black male when he watch what he's going to become be talked about and torn down? Not saying that he did not, that the dad isn't doing right and the mom doesn't have just cause. But what I'm saying is a lot of men, I tell you what, a lot of men, if they could get the love from the woman that the woman gives to the child, it would change a whole lot of the way men carry themselves.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true, man. So, Mr. Cash, here's what I'm thinking. When hearing all this, I'm thinking that it's going to start on the individual basis, and actually, like that thought is replicated in a lot of parts of our life. But when we talk about black men in particular, men in general opening up and being able to openly discuss things that are plaguing all of us, I think it starts on an individual basis of if we can, one at a time, right? So, like as they come in your office, or if we work together and figure out ways for brothers to see the importance of therapy or opening up and having someone you can talk to, right? Then what I'm hoping is that then on that larger scale, then it's going to be normal.
That's isolation.
To maybe normalize it. But what I'm saying is that if you're talking to Mr. Cash and you ain't got to worry about your boys judging you at that moment, like I think we got to get that part first.
But then when we walk out of there, we're going to go right back to our little corner because we only feel like we got one spot in order to be able to talk. That's part of our problem.
Yeah, so my hope, so I got that, but my hope in that is that once we learn how to open up, then we'll see how beneficial it is. Like, so that's what my hope is, because we don't even know how to open up and be comfortable about it. So I think first we got to be comfortable with that.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's about awakening. It's like we grew up in believing in one way, but as soon as we start talking and getting comfortable with who we are as a man, and then we walk around our boys and they want to keep us back sometimes. No, I'm not going to step back. I've learned something new. I have a new paradigm that I can really hold on to. So when my brother's over here saying, "No, they call me bougie. They call me extra. They tell me that you think you better than me." No, I don't think I'm better than you. I just want you to come where I'm at. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm growing and I want you to grow with me. But sometimes as brothers, we bring ourselves back sometimes.
That's true.
And we just need to, once we learn something, we can't unlearn it. Once we find out something new, we have to be responsible and teach it to others and mainly hold on to it for ourselves. So I agree that we need to start doing it individually, but also helping our brothers come with us. That we don't have to carry this old institutional paradigm of that we are less than.
Yeah, but that's why I said that's my hope of if we individually can figure that out.
Yes.
But because the number one thing that I've seen, and I love to hear Daniel's insight as well as Razor's, is that the reason that I think is so important and what I find a lot is that we have so much in common.
Yes.
You follow me? And like a lot of times, like so much weight can be on your shoulder, and like you can feel responsible for so much and for so many, to where you're like for one, like you're afraid to show weakness, like we said, but it helps when you know that somebody else is feeling the same. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
But as brothers, we're never gonna know that until we open up and talk.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's why sometimes when I'm talking to Troy and like I may give him a little piece, he may give me a little piece. The next thing you know, it's a wide open conversation.
Absolutely.
You follow me? Because we didn't want to be the first one to be like, yo, this is what I'm going through. But as soon as you get any kind of inkling, you're like, oh,
well, that's
load off my back.
That's
you know?
black men. We won't be first. We be next.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's something that we good at. You know, I'm a firm believer in the masses. Like, I know what isolation will do to a black man. You know, we can be amongst 1,000 people and feel like we're alone, or we can be amongst that 1,000 people and we feel like everybody's eyes are on us.
Yes.
You know, if we're excelling sports, then we're isolated because everybody's putting us on. Can you imagine how Michael Jordan feel? Like, really? So when people say, like, Michael isn't around black people, Michael isn't allowed to be around black people. You're too good to be around black people. So we're going to bring you over here and give you this kind of money and tell you need this kind of woman and this is what you need to do. Perfect example, when we do accept our African-American women or a woman that looks like us, whatever our nationality is, we don't get the same praise. Look at LeBron.
Yes.
Look at Obama. You know what I'm saying? Like, they always try to tear it down. If each one of them had a wife that did not look like the wife that they have, they'd be exalted even more than what they are.
It's deep.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So Mr. Cash, want to make sure that you also talk about that initiative you have. If first, I want to make sure, see if Daniel wanted to jump in on that convo though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what it really comes down to is that vulnerability begets vulnerability, right? Something that Brene Brown talks about a lot. In the ways in which I go about talking to my students or the kids that I work with is like telling them, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to go to therapy. I was talking to my little the other day, and we were talking about being afraid of stuff, right? We were talking about the ways in which I'm still scared. I'm still thinking. I made a mistake the other day, right? I missed a layup going to go play basketball, something as small as that. My little was laughing, and he was like, wait, but for real? Because they kind of like, you have this idealized version of a person. And so I think that when you kind of take that down and you're able to talk to people that are younger than you or people that even on your same age group and tell them about like, yeah, like I just saw my therapist, you know, this is what we talked about, whatever, kind of normalizing therapy is something that's just so important. Because I know that when I hear other people talk about therapy, it makes me so much more open. And there have been a couple of times that like I was talking to my dean from like, you know, from my fraternity, and I was talking to him about like, yo, like this medicine that I'm on, like it's kind of crazy. I don't really know what's going on. He's like, oh my God, like I just had that medicine. Like I'm on this one now.
Wow.
Like, and so just being able to like have those small conversations. And it was like, wait, I didn't even know that you were on medicine. He's like, yeah, like I don't really tell anyone. But kind of being able to start those conversations and that vulnerability of always like trying to, if we know this, right? If we know that we won't be first, we'll be next, then like, how about us taking that chance? Us that are there in the room, us that are hearing this conversation, taking that chance and being able to say, you know what, I will be first.
Nice.
I will be the one to then start this vulnerability train.
I think more therapy for black men happens in penitentiary.
Wow.
Honestly.
Sadly, it's true.
I think that, you know, because when they had mass incarceration, that so many black men were in there that's when they talk. Because I mean, if you take 10 black men, especially go back 20 years ago, if you took 10 black men, 6 or 7 of them had a state number, a Fed number, had been in trouble. So if you group them all, and we had 85% of the prison population. So where are they supposed to talk at?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think about it. You can always tell when a man comes fresh out of prison, the way he talk, his mannerisms and everything.
Yo, you know something real deep about that? You know my brother that we had in here? We were having the incarceration talk. And my brother from a teenager was locked up for 18 years, from the time he was a teen. So missed his whole, young adulthood, right? So, and Razor has a thing where he says that you come out the age you were when you went in. Yeah. That's one thing Razor say. And so, but one thing that's potent about that is that, like, the brother would write and call me consistently, like when he was incarcerated, and he would tell me time after time, he's like, dude, I need to talk to you for a sense of normalcy. Like, I just need to talk. And this was a young man who, like you said, suffered so much trauma early on, but he never opened up. So he had to be put in a cage to be forced to talk and open up and figure this thing out. So yeah, man, that's powerful, what Razor was just saying.
Yeah, it's very powerful. Yeah. I did corrections for 13 years.
Okay.
And it was nice to have, I mean, when they came in, they did their time, but it's like, well, there was an initiative to have more therapy put into the criminal system, into the juvenile justice system. And without therapy, they're just sitting around spending time. and practicing old behaviors and patterns that they've always done. So
But that's
therapy-
profitable.
Oh, there's no doubt.
That's
There's-
profitable.
Oh, there's no doubt.
To wake a black man up is not profitable.
No, it's not. No.
Say so.
So when you talk about rehabilitation, are we really being rehabilitated,
Not
or
at
are we
all.
just being incarcerated?
We're being housed.
Housed. Yes. So, yeah, being a therapist in a correctional facility, it's tough, but it was definitely it's something better than nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
they're getting something while they're in there doing their time.
And I want to get us to that point where we don't have to go to prison, right? We don't have to go to
absolutely.
jail in order to
Absolutely.
get therapy, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what, if we're relying on the jail system to be our therapist, right? It's already too late.
It's too late.
Someone that spends 3 days in the jail is 75% more likely to go back to jail. You know what I mean? In the next coming years. And so, how do we stop that cycle? How do we make sure that we start with therapy and not go to jail, then get therapy, then try to come out, then wait, you can't get a job. Oh wait, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't vote, etc.
I think it's a family situation because
Yeah.
think about it. We're looking at it as in adulthood. How many children are wrapped up in the child support system? How many children are already getting pulled, letting somebody else tell them how much time you have to spend with mom or how much time you have to spend with dad?
I don't know. Is it a family situation or is it a systematic situation, an institutional system? When you talk about
We're still property. We're still
Oh,
property.
it's still property. So when we talk about blaming the family, sometimes we don't have the economic means. The housing keeps going up. The jobs are not paying. So then we say the family or the dad's not there taking care of the kids. But I'm sorry, the opportunities that are being given to our families, people of color and families, is not the same.
The
It's not
government is the
equivalent.
daddy in a lot of families. You know, the same child that'll get me locked up will get my wife's services.
Yes.
I never understood that.
So where's the
Same
opportunity
child.
at? Where's the opportunity at?
Right.
How do we get equitable opportunity for all people, not
Yeah.
just the welfare recipients? That's not who we are.
Right,
That's
right.
not what we created, but
Not at
that's
all.
how we in the media and how we are deemed, how we are looked at. But no, it's not just the family. It's really the systematic institutional racism that continues to happen in this country over and over.
That's why I
day
got a
in,
problem
day
with
out.
Democrats. Like I hate to say it like that. This is just racism. Don't nobody else
Is
say nothing.
his
Go ahead.
opinion.
This is just my opinion because the Democrats push services. I'm gonna give you a place to live. I'm gonna give you some free food. I'm gonna give you some of these things. We look to that, not realizing we can't go no higher because if you make too much money, I'm not gonna give you no more free food. Then you're gonna have to go out here and try to get this $1,200 single room apartment over the corner with the roaches in it.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
I
Like
know what
I
you're saying.
really think that the way that they do it, they're capitalizing on us looking for a handout.
So it needs to be
I'm
reformed.
not saying I'm a
Right, right.
Republican. I'm just saying that's my problem I have with Democrats.
Yeah, so it needs to be reformed because there are people who need it.
Oh
Right,
no,
yeah,
there
but
are
yeah,
people
some people who
need-
abuse
If
it.
you get
Right.
thrust into that situation, you have no choice but to have self-preservation. I fully understand that, but let's not act like that's not
Yeah.
what they're using as a means to.
Right,
you want-
right.
Hey, you want this? Give me a vote.
Yeah, and the other thing too, playing off of what you were saying, Daniel, is that not only should we use services such as what Mr. Cash is offering today, but because, like you said, Daniel, that we shouldn't wait till we get incarcerated for that therapy, but also with our kids, man, like we shouldn't wait until they're expelled from school, you know, to get therapy. You follow me? And like even when we talk about like being,
But y'all, black people don't like you in their business.
I get it,
You know what I'm saying?
I get it, but
Yeah.
that's
we
why we're
can, we
here.
can change that
But that's
culture.
why we're here.
Change that mentality.
Yeah.
Right, we got to
Black people
change
don't
That's why
that.
we're here.
Yes.
But you being on this stage with the microphone got to help change that, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying.
But the
I
other
know
piece
it
too.
is heavy, Jesus.
But the last thing I'll say, Mr. Cash, before you give your info that what you have going on is also like even with being men, being family men, right, and being husbands. Getting that therapy before we end up, you know, in the divorce lawyer's office. You follow what I'm saying? Like, there's so many
there's no doubt.
stages, you know, to where we wait too late.
There's no doubt.
You know, so
I have many men that come in and trying to save their marriages, or they've been caught up in affairs or things that they're challenging how to sort through, how to heal from those poor choices that they made. But knowing that they have a place to go to once a week, knowing that it's normal, that it's healthy, and that they're supported is phenomenal. It's what people need.
Yeah.
When I talk about one of the initiatives that you talk about is, I'm really working on Charlottesville in some ways and looking how race plays a part in how it impacts our men in our community. and we're offering racial awareness and sensitivity groups. Okay, and I know a lot of people says we shouldn't put white people and black people together. I believe they should be together. Okay.
Should or shouldn't?
They should.
Okay.
They should. I believe there also should be places for affinity groups.
Right.
Where you
Okay.
have places where you can talk with white people. You have just all black people
That's
talk
fair.
together.
Yeah.
But at some point, the major issue that we have is that we're all coming together. You know, how do we relate together as one? And some of the tenets of the racially subjugated, people who have been captured, who've been brought over, who have been placed in a submissive role, have learned how to lose their voice. Men have to learn how to recapture the voice. They have learned not to be the angry black man. We are not just the angry man. We are rageful. We are rageful what we've been thrust into and had to survive, that our ancestors had to survive.
But they've started saying black people need to get over slavery.
And I'm tired of that, man. I'm really
You know
tired
what
of
I'm
that.
saying?
Because
Like, that's the new thing that they put out there.
Yeah, negative racism. I'm sorry. How we gonna get over something if we still walking through it day in and day out?
They can't see, and that's something that a lot of people need to understand. My lighter skinned listeners, my lighter skinned fans, you need to understand that you cannot understand what it's like to walk in a man's shoes. That you can't put those shoes on. You can hang your pants, say the N-word, know every rap song Biggie ever did, recite Martin Luther King backwards and forwards. You'll never understand what it's like to be a black man. So Charles and Aaron's got a quote that they told me that stuck with me. The rabbit story can never accurately be told by the hunter. And that's something that our other side needs to understand.
Nice. That's true.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Cash, so with the initiative you were just talking about, is that an event, or is that just sort of the workflow that you have going on right now?
I'm sorry, not to interrupt you.
Oh yeah.
But since August 12th, 2017, we have been providing support to the victims of that domestic terrorism that occurred in Charlottesville.
Okay.
With that, we brought in Dr. Kenneth Hardy from Philadelphia, Drexel University. He's been doing workshops, 2-day workshops in the Charlottesville area, helping people talk effectively about race in our community. And he was here just in February, and he'll be coming back in August 31st and November 1st to continue the work of helping people engage in race, contextual race-related conversations, and teaching people, not just black, not just white, all of us together, about how to communicate effectively about race. And like I was trying to get across is the thing that we have to understand. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but it's also about, I think it's not just white people that need to do some work. We got to do our own work.
Absolutely.
We got to understand that we have to continue to, and people, decenter white people, okay? That means stepping away from them and being okay communicating what you truly think and feel on a day in and day out basis, and not worry about the ramifications. Yes, the ramifications will come, but however, the more and more we talk, the more and more we get stronger, the more and more we have a presence, more and more we have pride, more and more we have integrity. The more, I do not want us to continue to be victimized in this country. And I believe creating these support groups that meets on Tuesday nights from 6:15 to 7:45, first and third Tuesdays at the Charlottesville office to talk about racial awareness and sensitivity.
Okay.
We walk you through the tenets of the racially privileged people, and we walk you through the tenets of the racially subjugated. And we help teach people to engage in conversations around race. And I believe what I've seen is people engaging in these conversations have been enlightened. They have been able to heal, because we are still being traumatized, but having a place to talk, to heal this trauma and learn new skills is one of the best ways we can help this community and our black men.
Yeah, thank you. Now, is that a flyer you can share with us so we can?
Oh, most definitely.
We can distribute that.
Most
Awesome,
definitely.
awesome. So now, as far as contacting you, before we let you go, they got to know where you're located, and if they need to book an appointment.
You can always go to our website. Is www.cavahelps.com. That's our website. We are located on Greenbrier Drive, 335 Greenbrier Drive, Suite 206, Charlottesville, Virginia, 22901. Our phone number is 434-220-0333.
Awesome. Mr. Gene Cash, thank you for joining us, sir. And if I understand it correctly, you want to be a recurring guest. Is that right?
Most definitely.
Awesome. That's what we
Most
want to hear.
definitely.
Because now, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have the Women's Initiative in one room and the Alliance, the Counseling Alliance in another room. And then we're going to figure this thing out. We're going to solve the battle of the sexes.
That's right.
On IMHO.
Yes.
Don't get shut down trying.